the headliner, Goldberg. We were discussing off air, but you said that this is a fella that had a 5-year run at the top of the industry, and that's about it. Let's elaborate a little bit more, if you can.
Yep, absolutely. So Bill Goldberg, former Atlanta Falcons reserve player, got shot out of a cannon in '97.
You mean he wasn't on the starting roster?
No, he was he played every now and then, but he was an active player.
Right.
He trained at WCW power plants. Then they looked at him and they're like, we're going to push him to the rocket, or put a rocket strap on him, send him to the moon. And did they ever? He had a hell of a push through 97, 98, and then they butchered it in 99, and then he kind of floated until retirement.
Yeah, well, there was, and then WCW went under, and then they brought him back in 2003 to WWE, and you got the matchups you wanted to see, kind of, sort of. I mean, we never got that Stone Cold Goldberg matchup that everybody was clamoring for when the announcement was made that WWF was buying WCW, and that a lot of the WCW talent would have their contracts picked up by WWE under an evaluation, I guess, basis and stuff, and whoever they liked, they would have kept.
The unique thing about his contract, he wasn't signed to WCW. He was signed to Time Warner.
Okay.
So they had to let that run out before they can make an offer at him. He came into WWF. He had an okay match with The Rock. He was put in a feud with Triple H just to put Triple H over most of the time. And then he left.
Then he left, yes. And we thought that whole WrestleMania 20 thing, if it wasn't for the Benoit situation and that stuff, this probably now, with the recent resurgence of popularity of bringing Goldberg back in and that stuff, would be a reason enough for WWE to kind of sweep WrestleMania 20 under the rug and say, oh, it didn't happen. Because you had a matchup about halfway through the card that night between Brock Lesnar and Goldberg that the fans at MSG hated because they're both leaving at the end of the night. And the only person who was staying was the ref, and he was just a booked-in celebrity at that point because Austin was just starting to do movies. So, it was probably one of the more surreal experiences I've had watching wrestling was watching that match. And just that's the first time I've seen white-hot heat towards two individuals in the ring, and that nobody was cheering for either person at all. The only person you were cheering for was the ref doing his stuff. So,
and the weird thing is, if they had a good match, maybe we would have redeemed it, but they decided to milk a house show type performance.
Yeah. No, it wasn't very good. It was very lackluster, to say the least. We don't hear from Goldberg for a while, and then, in fact, he's the later part of the 2000s and that stuff distanced himself from wrestling entirely. He's doing reality shows about cars and podcasts and everything.
I think he did. Yeah, he did a bit of MMA commentaries too.
Yeah, anything but wrestling. Obviously, small bits of movies. Whenever you needed him, you got him. 2016 rolls around. And the WWE 2K17 video game is about to be released. And they bring in Goldberg as a DLC pre-order bonus to a video game.
Let me interrupt you. Do you notice something funny about the DLC specials for these games that have a wrestler who signed on for it to appear 6 months later?
I don't pay too close attention to the DLC bonuses because it's either I'm going to buy the game when it comes out or I'm going to wait 6 or 8 months when it's down to like a normal price and then I'm going to buy it, right? Which is what I did with this year's WWE 2K18. But now that you mention it, yeah, okay, I could see that. You
had Kurt Angle, you had Goldberg, Sting, Warrior.
Yeah.
All of them came back like 5 or 6 months after they signed that 2K contract.
So what you're saying is pay attention in September and October when they start running the ads for 2K19, and then we'll figure out who they're bringing back for Mania next year, potentially.
I wouldn't bet against it.
Fabulous Moolah. No, just nope. Not after what we discussed. Nope. But anyways, there was an interview on ESPN. Jonathan Coachman did the interview with Goldberg prior to the video game coming out, and Goldberg famously said in the interview, after Coachman said, "Is there one guy that you would like to have a matchup with right now in WWE?" And Goldberg said, without a question of a doubt, it's Brock Lesnar. Fast forward to Survivor Series, we have Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Goldberg goes over on Lesnar in, like, not even a minute. Yeah, and I can't remember the exact time. So it was less than 2 minutes. I know that much, which puts him in the catbird seat for another quote unquote run. Goldberg gets entered into the Royal Rumble. They have, I guess, a face-off because Lesnar was in the Royal Rumble too, wasn't he?
Yeah, and so was Taker. They did the three of them together.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. That happens. Goldberg.
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Meanwhile, Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho are embroiled in one of the angles of the year last year in WWE, and an angle that should have been the Raw Brand's WWE the Raw Brand's Universal Championship match at WrestleMania in Orlando that year. Would have easily passed, and the crowd would have loved it. One of the best betrayal angles since the barbershop with Michaels and Jannetty back in the early 90s. They go into Fastlane, and Owens drops the belt to Goldberg to give Goldberg and Lesnar a Universal title match at Mania, and then they do the match at Mania, and Goldberg drops it to Lesnar. That's why we got Lesnar as Universal Champion now.
This is what I call how to bury the entire roster by pushing Goldberg.
And so we come to today full circle, and Goldberg is going into the Hall of Fame. I guess because you can't deny it was important that WCW had Goldberg late 90s. And the run that he came in at the very tail end of their success and everything like that is such a huge thing. Ultimately, him going into the WWE Hall of Fame as the headliner this year kind of underlines, in my opinion, the weakness of this Hall of Fame roster. It's very weak from top to bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not the biggest Goldberg fan. I understand why he's in there. I'm not supportive, but if he's a headliner, well, what about other guys who aren't in there?
Yeah.
Like, I know Diana will never let it happen, but Owen would be a better headliner, or Davey Boy.
I think it was Martha.
Martha? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Diana wants Davey Boy in the Hall of Fame, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, Martha keeps blocking.
The whole Smith family has been on board with it. It's just, for whatever reason, they've never brought Davey Boy to the top now. Will we ever see Davey Boy in there with Dynamite as part of the Bulldogs? Oh man, as much as I would love to see that happen, I don't know if that would happen. But they were such an influential tag team in the 80s for WWF. It was just, insane. And their work at Stampede is second to none. I mean, like, they're just,
they're Hall of Famers.
They are definitely Hall of Famers. Yeah, for sure. And getting back, I think eventually one day they knocked the first hurdle out of the way by doing the DVD compilation on Owen with the relationship there and that stuff. Now, was debated. I don't think it was under Martha's, I guess, approval and that stuff.
I think they got it, and then she declined it later on.
Yeah. Yeah, but then it was like, well, too late. We're producing it anyway because, you signed a contract.
You already signed it. You signed it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, those are two definitely we'd love to see in, but it might never happen. But